For the first time in years, Christmas passed without headline-grabbing attacks on churches in parts of Nigeria, and that single development pushed Nigeria's Christian leadership into the living room of President Bola Tinubu with smiles, handshakes, and words of gratitude. But while the cameras captured courtesy visits and carefully chosen statements, many Nigerians are asking harder questions that refuse to go away. Questions about silence, selective outrage, and whether Nigerians' Christian leadership truly speaks for the suffering church. Archbishop Daniel Oko, president of the Christian Association of Nigeria, led a delegation of top Christian leaders to Tinubu's Lagos residence to thank him for what they described as a peaceful Christmas celebration, free from the kind of church attacks that have traumatized Christian communities for years, especially in the north. Oko praised improved security efforts and spoke about supporting vulnerable citizens and national progress. Tinubu, in response, acknowledged the economic pain Nigerians are facing and promised that the country would overcome its challenges while protecting religious freedom. On the surface, the visit looked like progress, dialogue, and unity. Tinubu had earlier attended Juma prayers at Lekki Central Mosque, where the Imam preached coexistence in Nigeria's religiously diverse society, and now he was hosting Christian leaders in the same spirit of balance. Supporters of the president hailed the moment as evidence that security was improving and that interfaith engagement under Tinubu was working. But outside the gates of power, the mood was far less celebratory. Across social media and within Christian communities themselves, Nigerians are arguing that the leadership of CAN has consistently failed to speak boldly when Christians are slaughtered in villages, farmlands, and worship centers across the country. Critics say that while blood flowed in Benue, Plateau, Southern Kaduna, Borno, Zamfara, Niger State, Ebonyi, Enugu, and other flashpoints, CAN's leadership was largely silent or issued weak, carefully worded statements that avoided confronting the government directly. Many Nigerians argue that CAN rarely challenges the federal government forcefully on the failure to protect Christian communities. Instead, they accuse the leadership of choosing safety, access, and political comfort over prophetic truth. According to these critics, the pattern is familiar. Killings happen, communities cry, victims are buried, and CAN leadership retreats into silence, prayer meetings, or neutral language that offends no one in power. This frustration deepened when the issue of Christian genocide in Nigeria gained international attention, particularly from the United States. Instead of amplifying the concerns and demanding accountability, some prominent Nigerian Christian figures publicly downplayed the issue. Nigerians still recall how certain church leaders dismissed the genocide narrative and even spoke against foreign intervention. One name that repeatedly comes up in public anger is Primate Ayodele, whom critics openly describe as a fake pastor who spoke against US pressure and intervention, telling the world to forget about genocide claims while Christians continue to die at home. To many Nigerians, this was not just disappointing, it was betrayal. Now, with a relatively calm Christmas and a presidential visit, critics say the same leaders are suddenly smiling, praising, and performing what many describe as eye service, public displays of loyalty meant to stay in the good books of the president. Some Nigerians believe these visits are less about defending Christians and more about access, relevance, influence, and, as many bluntly put it, positioning for government patronage and financial benefits. The argument being made is simple but brutal. Where was this visible engagement when churches were burned, when worshippers were slaughtered, when farmers were driven off their land, and when entire Christian communities were displaced? Why does appreciation come easily, but confrontation feels impossible? Why is CAN quick to visit power, but slow to stand with victims in mass graves? Defenders of CAN argue that quiet diplomacy works better than loud condemnation and that maintaining access to power helps protect Christians in the long run. But critics reject this explanation, pointing out that decades of quiet diplomacy have not stopped the killings, the kidnappings, or the displacement. To them, silence has not saved lives, it has only normalized suffering. The peaceful Christmas itself has also become a point of contention. While many Christians were relieved to worship without fear, others warn against celebrating too quickly. They argue that attacks may not have happened in major churches under heavy security, but violence continued in rural areas where cameras do not go and statements are rarely issued. For these Nigerians, thanking the government for a peaceful Christmas sets the bar dangerously low. They ask whether the role of Christian leadership is to applaud the absence of violence for a few days or to demand permanent security and justice every day. They fear that appreciating minimal progress sends a message that occasional calm is enough, even while long-term insecurity remains unresolved. The visit to Tinubu has therefore exposed a widening gap between Nigerians' Christian leadership and the Christian population on the ground. Many believers feel unrepresented, unheard, and unprotected. They want leaders who will speak truth to power, not pose for photos with it. They want voices that will challenge injustice, not manage it. As Nigeria moves forward, the debate will only grow louder. Is Khan truly defending the church, or is it protecting itself? Is engagement with power producing results, or simply preserving privilege? And most importantly, will Christian leaders find the courage to speak loudly when the next attack comes, or will they wait again for peace to return before offering praise? The peaceful Christmas has brought relief, but it has also stripped away illusions. Nigerians are watching closely, not just the government, but the church leadership itself. Because in a country where faith is powerful and suffering is real, silence is no longer neutral, it is a statement. Stay with Trend Fusion, follow, like, share, and subscribe, because the truth Nigerians whisper today will be the questions the nation must answer tomorrow.